being vegan is a good way to kind of please everybody.
I am rolling.
Rolling.
Well, here we are on our couch once again.
Are we just doing 2 cameras?
Oh, we're doing 3 cameras. This is going to do a handheld over there. It's getting real fancy out here, guys. You know, this is the future of podcasting. You know, not too many people have 3 camera setups.
Yeah.
Because
Only
it's
the best for
unnecessary. But
And this is just audio too, right? Those are already gone.
yeah, we're actually only posting the audio.
Cool.
So don't worry about nodding to the camera unless it just adds to, you know, that's why we have the cameras here, because, you know, we want you to feel like you're performing.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's what this
We want you to
podcast is about.
feel
We're just a couple of friends kidding back on the couch.
Casual.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool.
With microphones close to our lips.
So close.
Well, we appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me.
The next episode. I don't know what we're going to call this, 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5. But whatever the next episode is of Backsliders.
Okay.
For those of you tuning in.
We're here with our friend Yoni.
Yes.
Hey guys. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. I didn't say that right. Appreciate it.
Yes.
That should be a word.
The appreciation is mutual.
Dude, that should be a group.
Appreciation.
Appreciation.
Where it's just a
Appreciation.
group
It's
of
just a
friends sharing
gratitude
gratitude.
I like it. I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm a member of the appreciation.
Yeah. Whoa. See, we just
There we go.
discovered something, guys.
Yeah. Start a Facebook page.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is going well.
Yeah.
We're just here to generate ideas, you know?
Yeah, totally. We'll get into the deep stuff when time permits. We've got an hour, you know, at least. We've got an hour at least.
Cool.
But yeah, no, you're here because you're a friend. I know you have an extensive background in religious studies.
You can say it. I'm a Jew.
Yeah, your religion goes back further than mine even was a thought.
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, we're all, you know.
I actually don't
We
know
need each other.
how far back Judaism goes.
Well, I think the general consensus is about 4,000 years.
Okay.
You know.
So double the time of Christ.
Yes, exactly. Double Jesus.
Double the fun.
Your thing, but times 2. No,
It's like how we talk about Mormonism.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. No, but we it's not a competition.
No.
I mean, because there's older ones than Judaism, right? Like
yeah,
druids.
Yeah. Sure, droids.
Droids?
Star Wars.
Yes. Alien
That
life
was a long
forms.
time ago.
Yes.
Far away.
Yes.
But yeah, it's, you know, traditionally, you know, at least according to the Bible, it started with Abraham, who you guys know as well.
Yes.
Who yeah,
We know a
that guy.
new Abraham too.
Really?
There's a lady who calls herself Abraham. But her name is Esther Hicks, but she channels
This
this
spirit,
consciousness
this guide.
called Abraham.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
You should give it a listen to. She's a genius if she's like not really channeling anything, because she like was smart enough to know, like, I think I can get the Christians if I call myself Abraham.
But
And the Jews.
Yeah, well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Esther, totally fine biblical name.
Yes.
She could have just stuck with that.
That's true.
But is she channeling like the OG Abraham or just another guy named Abraham?
She
not
says
channeling,
it's
like, a Bible
not-
god.
Yeah, she
Okay.
says it's not one person either, or she's like it's a collective consciousness of like intelligence on the other side.
So that sounds pretty like New Age.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's totally
So
new
why
age.
name it Abraham?
Probably just to get some of the Christian audience
I
that
see,
maybe
I see.
wouldn't have been, or maybe the Jewish audience.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
I mean,
I'm
I'm
sure
in.
her following is. You should listen to it because it's
Okay.
intriguing. It's like, wait, how are you rattling off all this stuff that sounds really good?
Maybe she's just a good improviser.
That's what
Maybe.
it feels like.
UCB classes.
Like
Yeah.
really,
Well,
really
she's not
good.
funny though.
She's not funny, but she'll say stuff that you're
mean-
like, oh, I'd buy that.
Yeah, she'll
Feels
sit in a room
nice.
full of people and take questions, and they will try to stump her, and she like doesn't miss a beat.
She'd be a great politician.
Yeah.
This feels like an intervention where you guys are trying
Are
to get
trying
me to
to
join.
push
Got me on the
Abraham.
couch. surround me on both sides. Tell me about how great she is.
No, I don't even think she's that great.
She's actually crazy. I mean, no, we shouldn't say the C
I
word.
don't think she's crazy. I don't
That's the
know.
C word? She's a total crazy person.
I think with everything that spreads, there's like a piece of truth in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where's the Kool-Aid?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Well, we interrupt you talking about the Bible with
The original
thing.
It's fine. I mean, it would take.
He doesn't do the Bible, okay?
Yeah,
He
tell us
does
more about the Bible.
Old Testament?
Well, the Bible, like I guess Christians call it the Old Testament.
Yeah.
We call it the
Testament.
Torah or just the Bible, and no test. We don't really say Testament.
Yeah.
And it's comprised of what's called the 5 books of Moses. So it's Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. And that's the Torah. And, Christianity kind of built upon that and added the sequel.
Yeah.
But
Which some would say is the best part.
Micah.
I'm not an advocate for Christianity. I'm just...
some sequels are good, but
Some of them.
it's a personal taste thing.
Yeah, I mean, have you read the book of Revelations? Like, it gets wild.
Yeah.
It's
very entertaining.
Quite a climax.
Yeah. No, I mean, feel free to, if you want to bust it out, tell me about it. That's cool.
I don't know actually that much about it. My dad used to talk about it all the time.
Okay. But yeah, as a Jew, as a Jewish person, we, our main book is the Torah. And then there's things that came afterwards, the Talmud, things that are extrapolations and analyses and commentary on the Bible. But yeah, we're big into books, study, kind of. We actually read every week, every Shabbat, like on Saturdays, we read a portion of the Torah. And to go through it over the course of the year and do it every single year again and again and again and again.
So there's like a scheduled reading.
Yeah.
And is this at home or is this?
No, this is at the synagogue.
Okay.
And it's chanted, and then the rabbi will like kind of talk about it, this week's Torah portion. And it's a way to kind of find meaning and get something different out of it maybe every time you read it, because you're in a different state of your life. The world is different. So
that's really cool.
That's the idea of that stuff.
And is it the same like from synagogue to synagogue? What would be read?
Everywhere across the whole planet, they're reading the same thing.
Which is almost very like Catholicism, because I think they have.
I should know, but I don't know that.
I think they have.
We only went on like the big ones.
Regimented type.
Okay.
Scheduling of sermons.
Yeah.
Liturgy. I know that's
I
what
don't know what
Lutherans
liturgy
read.
means.
It's like, specific readings that are like not assigned, but like everyone's reading the same thing at the same time. A lot of similarities.
Yeah.
Are you an only child?
No, I have an older brother. He's 5 years older than me. And it's the two of us.
Yeah.
Also Jewish.
Yes. That's how it works.
Once you're in the family, you're in the family.
Exactly. Literally, like we're brothers, but also in the bigger family as well.
Yeah. Well, I was talking about Keely and I. I was joking with you one time when we wanted to join the family, and then you told me it's possible.
It is possible. People can join the tribe, if they want to convert to Judaism. There's a lot of study involved and kind of, adopting the lifestyle. There's rules about what you can eat.
Do you follow those?
Kosher, yeah, I
Nice.
keep kosher. So like there's certain foods that are just off the table, like pig, shellfish.
Pigs are really smart.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Shellfish.
I don't know
tough.
if shellfish are smart or not, but
I don't know.
There's other things about them. We don't mix meat and milk together.
Oh, I didn't even notice that today because we just had breakfast together. I noticed that you didn't get cheese. Was that why?
No,
Is that not why?
I didn't have meat either or cheese. I just today didn't.
It felt like a non-dairy day.
Yeah. But
So that wasn't a Jewish decision.
No,
that was
it
just
wasn't.
a regular.
Do you ever in your life are like,
Jewish decision or Yoni decision?
do you have to separate? Like,
It's a good question.
is this what I want right now, or is this what the tribe wants right now?
I guess in many ways they're intertwined, and within me, they usually are aligned, but there are times maybe where those sides want different things.
Sure.
And sometimes you listen to one, sometimes the other. But yeah, there's also, I think nowadays, like it used to feel very weird having dietary restrictions, like being kosher. But now with everybody being gluten-free, vegan,
Yeah.
like
Everybody's annoying.
Yeah, everybody's even more annoying.
Yeah.
So I feel like
You're like under the radar.
yeah,
You
yeah.
have like a good excuse.
Exactly.
Based on faith,
yeah.
not just.
So in that way, I can take my Jewish decision and frame it as a Yoni decision, where it's just
Yeah.
like, oh, you know, I'm gluten-free. So.
Right. Yeah. That's very convenient.
Reframing. Yeah,
It's
I like
the
that.
best time.
Yeah, probably. There's been a lot of bad times to be Jewish in history,
That's
unfortunately.
true.
But
Yes.
this time with like vegan restaurants, it's probably the best time.
There's a lot of great vegan restaurants, especially in LA.
There are, and you know, fun fact: veganism is actually the highest level of kosher. So a lot of vegan restaurants are even considered like officially kosher, and you can have like really religious, devout Jewish people will eat at a vegan restaurant.
Do you feel like devout Jewish people respect vegans more than like other people? Because they're like, you guys are.
No, they're
Well,
like,
at the
you can
top.
make my food.
Here's the thing: is within Judaism or Jewish people, there's not really a concern about what other people do. So,
That's so cool.
a religious Jewish person couldn't care less that a non-Jewish person is eating a pork and a cheeseburger and all that, because it's not, you know, those guidelines don't concern that person.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when it comes to within the Jewish fold, sure, there might be, like in any group, within the group, there's maybe some disagreement and that person should be doing that or shouldn't be doing that. So being vegan is a good way to kind of please everybody, including the, you know, PETA environmentalists and those people.
So there isn't like a call to evangelize within.
No. If anything, it's kind of challenging for a person to become Jewish by design, just that you want the person to really want it. It's not to be taken lightly. And it's not even, one way that I'd say it's different from Christianity is that it's not really about faith or a faith-based thing. It's not like you accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior and then you're in. It's more about culture adopting. There are belief systems, there are religious rituals, but it's also about the culture and the rituals and the way of living your life. So that's why it's not something you can do overnight and be like, oh, I'm Jewish today because I decided. It means, you know, like we talked about, what you eat, what you do on the Sabbath from Friday night to Saturday night, where you live, your community. There's a lot of factors to it. So
I've always liked the non-electricity thing.
Oh, yeah.
From, was it Friday to Sunday?
So from Friday night until Saturday night, it's Shabbat or the Sabbath, and you're supposed to take a break from all work, from spending money, from technology. So yeah, like you don't use your phone, you don't use your computer, you don't watch
that's
TV, and yeah, and you're not supposed to use your car.
It's a gray area.
There's great. Well, there's
Steam engines.
yeah. Well, you can't even take your horse. You're supposed to give your animal a break. So now there are people who are more strict and people who are less strict. Some might drive if it's to get to the synagogue that's far away or something like that. But it is an amazing thing, especially now as technology has really taken over our lives.
Yeah.
I mean, now I hear of people doing digital detox, and it's funny from like even a non-religious perspective. You have people who are unplugging and taking a break from being inundated with, technology.
Well, they're feeling the effects of what it's like your ancestors have always known. It's like, yes, you should take a break.
Yeah,
those
be present.
back then they were like on their iPhones all the time.
It's gonna get bad.
Yeah. So they were forward thinking. No, but the value of Shabbat and those rules, it is interesting how it's maybe gotten even more relevant and powerful with time, even though this was maybe invented thousands of years ago, when taking a break probably meant like, I'm going to not work the crops today. Now it's like, dude, I wish I could just work some fields sometimes, because there's just so much just overload, sensory overload in our world.
And bad
And
news.
good exercise.
Yeah, bad news and good exercise.
2 different points, but yeah.
Both good ones.
Well, I've heard that like our backs have gotten so weak, like we have so much lower back pain because we're not like bending
Working in the
over and
garden.
like gardening. Like we
sitting is
intended
bad.
to do,
And we're sitting like this too,
Yeah,
which is not
they
natural.
said sitting's the new smoking.
That's what I hear.
Yeah.
And some people do both.
That's why I quit sitting. So I'm quitting sitting in 2020. Not currently, obviously, I'm still sitting, but
Yeah.
that's my New Year's
days
resolution
sober?
for 2020. Quitting
Nice.
sitting.
Quitting sitting. That's good.
Hashtag quitting sitting. All right.
Great point. Great point. Another great point by Micah.
Yes.
I'm feeling loopy today a little bit. It's good.
okay.
It's good. I think it's the heat.
Yeah, it is very hot.
It's a little steamy in here. Like, I don't know if we're going to make it to an hour.
I mean,
The interest level is high, though, so
Yeah.
we'll make it.
I think that the heat is kind of like heating us up so we don't get too. No, that's the opposite. They say you want to be cold so you don't get tired, but
Oh yeah, that's why schools are
yeah,
freezing.
exactly. But
Do not
maybe
appreciate
in our
that.
case, like we're getting spicy because of the heat.
yeah,
And talking about religion.
Yeah. Maybe
With microphones.
We're in hell.
Like
we're feeling the heat.
Yeah.
Satan.
How dare
Yeah.
we?
How dare we question?
Wait.
Don't get too close to
This
the
may be a
edge.
dumb question, but
There are no dumb questions.
okay,
unless
so
it's really
in
dumb.
Christianity, like there's a big everyone loves to talk about the devil.
I don't.
Is there a lot of that that you
there's-
guys like to do
No,
too?
I mean, our main association with the devil and with hell is just being told that we're going to go there by other people. But within Judaism, it's not really. That's
Or
not
people
re-
outside of Judaism telling
Like,
you
yeah,
you
you're
guys
going
got
to
it
hell.
wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's already back. And he left already. You missed it.
But within Judaism, there's not really a concept of like there are some ideas that might be comparable, but there's not a focus on a hell or on Satan or on any of that. There's actually not really a big emphasis on afterlife at all because the main goal of Judaism, one of the goals is called tikkun olam, which means to repair the world. So the goal is to make heaven here on earth rather than try to get to heaven.
That's so beautiful.
I know.
It's one of the good concepts that
That's the best one.
I like.
Because one of the things that we both struggled with in Christianity is like this concept that the world is not your home, which makes it, and you have to be like in the world, but not of the world. Just a lot of like fear based, like,
A lot of people
am I
just,
too
like-
worldly? Like, am I going to hell? Just a lot of weird fear based on existing here.
Yeah.
And wanting to get past this life. Like, I can't wait till heaven's here.
Well, my
It's
crown's
like, well,
in
why don't you
heaven.
enjoy this one? Like,
Yeah. I mean, this one we know exists for sure. So we
well,
might
we're
as
just
well-
here. Let's like not
Yeah, we're
waste
here.
it.
True. And yeah, I think that one of the maybe a distinction would be that in Judaism kind of recognizes that the world is a crazy place and there's tons of bad stuff going on, and the goal is to kind of get into it and try to maybe make it better or have these principles so that even within it you can also kind of stay true to a set of values and not succumb to every desire. But there is a recognition of desire, and it's not a bad thing. Like, in the rules of like sex, there's actually like specific things that command husband and wife to have sex and to be fruitful and multiply, and like it's not considered a bad thing.
Right.
So
Song of Solomon, is that Old Testament or New Testament?
So yeah, I mean that's not in those 5 books that I was talking about, but it's in the another section called the writings, and that has that, which is all very sensual.
Right, that's a sensual book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
breasts as antelopes.
Yes,
right?
exactly. A lot
I remember that one.
There's a lot of
what
similes.
Yeah, why would
Metaphors.
breasts be like an antelope?
Because it's a poem, a lover poem, which Christians say is
antelopes
like
were, like,
Jesus
gorgeous?
to the church.
Yeah. Well, you don't ever be like, hey, check out the antelopes on that one.
Oops on that one. Ahooga.
Lopes.
Yeah, that was like the best metaphor, I guess, that
They
he
had
could
at the
think of
time.
at the time. But
It's the most delicious
Antelopes.
meat. Maybe
Yeah,
that
maybe.
was it. It's
Or
very
maybe
savory.
like antelopes are friendly,
they're also very graceful, I would say.
nurturing.
Yeah, nurturing.
Motherly.
Motherly, yeah. So, yeah, there's some naughty stuff in
Yeah.
in the
Songs of Solomon.
in that stuff.
It seems like you had like a good time growing up.
Yeah.
Where did you grow up?
So I grew up here in Los Angeles.
Okay.
And yeah, I'd say my relation, if we're talking about like with the religious stuff, was very positive for the most part. Like I enjoyed the rituals. You know, there were times where as a little kid, you don't understand like, oh, why can't I play video games today? Like this sucks. I'm bored. And like, we have to play Monopoly, you know, so, which is fun, but I have this association sometimes where it's like, oh, it's because it's like a long, boring day and I can't play video games. But it was taught to me, I'd say, from a position of love and appreciation. And as I've gotten older and, you know, when you start to have responsibilities and work and things that you don't want to do, it's nice that I suddenly realize having a day where you kind of force yourself to take a break from all that is refreshing and a positive thing. So, and even with the dietary restrictions, like there were times where my friends were eating at McDonald's and I was like, oh, I can't have it. This sucks. But I think learning discipline, that was like a positive value that because I was able to say, I may want to try that, but I can't, you know, I could apply that to other things in life and also just being aware of what you eat. So I think like a lot of the rules within in Judaism are about becoming aware of what you're doing and to not kind of be like an animal when it comes to, you know, eating. You don't just stuff your face. You think about what am I eating? And it's not even necessarily a health perspective, but it's just like awareness. Yeah, mindfulness, exactly. And same with, you know, on Saturday, like refraining from things, you become aware of other things. When you put out the noise from your TV and your phone, you start to think about, you know, bigger questions in your life. And so I guess, yeah, I had a pretty positive relationship with it growing up. And because it was done from a level that was pretty just balanced, it was never too extreme in either direction. I've never felt the need to like rebel against it. There's times where I guess I've been to communities that are even more religious or maybe less. And I like to see what everyone has to offer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I know there's many people with every religion that have kind of maybe a antagonistic relationship for many reasonable reasons.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say that was my experience.
Yeah, yeah.
It seems like your family tried to give you like a healthy relationship and explaining everything that you guys were doing traditionally to like let you know the importance of it, but not necessarily shaming you. Like, did you ever get shamed when you would like be annoyed that you couldn't use electricity?
No, I don't think so. No.
That's very cool.
Yeah, I think I'm fortunate just also that my parents are very thoughtful people and have kind of been on their own journeys when it comes to their relationship to all this. So the way that they decided to raise us was also kind of from a place of compromise, from a place of them choosing what kind of family and, you know, they want to raise. So the fact that they didn't have this kind of weight, I think, from above, from their families, kind of enabled them to also do it in their own style.
Yeah.
So it's not so juicy, but it's that was kind of just my experience, and I try to bring, like, I'm very grateful for that, and I think in our society there's a very negative approach or outlook, especially in places like LA or New York, where there's a fast-paced lifestyle focused on career and getting ahead. There's kind of a dismissal of all religion or of all, like, you know, organized cultural institutions. And I think there are problems with those, but there's also a lot to be gained that people miss out on. And I think, like, young people today who are brought up to think, oh, religion is stupid, they actually end up seeking those same things from other sources, whether it's Burning Man or yoga. You know, everybody wants to be part of some kind of structure, belief system, group. Community. Big time, yeah.
Self-improvement.
Yeah.
I think it's true. I mean, I think religion, like, I think any religion, there's like all the same roots of like good things that humans need, which is like community, acceptance, love. bam.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's like it gets messed up or distorted when I guess it becomes extreme or you start utilizing like the fear of hell.
Yeah. Or I think power is probably the thing that always corrupts. And it's like same with government. You know, these people get into local politics. They want to help the community. And then in order to do that, they need to rise up. And in order to rise up, they have to kind of compromise their values. And then you have people who are totally lost sight of what, you know, they got into it for. And it's just about staying in power. And like, I think there's a distinction I like to make that a lot of times people will say that somebody like is a bad or is an asshole because they're religious, but I think those people might just be assholes no matter what, and they happen to be expressing their assholeness through the context that they can. So
They're extremely insecure.
Yeah,
And they're utilizing their religion as wielding a power tool.
exactly. Because when you're in charge of a lot of people and those people are vulnerable, it's like I think human nature, the darker side, just kind of takes advantage of that. And we see that with cults where people are just seeking, you know, community or answers, and then they end up getting all their money taken from them. So these things can easily go astray, but it can also not.
Yeah. Like within Judaism, there's like different, I don't know how,
Like denominations.
yeah. I guess it would be like, and you said you've like kind of, I guess, experienced communities that are more extreme or less extreme. Did you ever learn like what compelled like a more extreme community to adhere to a certain thing? I guess you came back to where you are here, which is maybe in the middle. I don't know.
Yeah, pretty
I don't
much.
know what you would call it.
and yeah, I'd say I'm pretty much in the middle. And in my like my temperament, my life, I'm a Libra, balance. I tend to
I'm
always
a Libra too.
Oh, nice. I tend to always kind of, you know, my baseline is kind of moderate, but because of that, it's more interesting for me sometimes to go to experience things that are the opposite. But yeah, so like there's a common like joke about Jews where you say like 2 Jews, 3 opinions, because Jews are known to be very opinionated, and within the community just have a lot of debate and you know,
Like they would even debate with themselves.
yeah, debate amongst themselves, and even within each group. Then there's this breakaway, and that breakaway, and there's a joke I can tell, like a kind of quick joke that's kind of illustrates the point.
Please.
So that there's a man who was on a boat, and he gets what's it called? Marooned, like cast away on an island. And he's there, and nobody knows about his existence, that he's lost for many years. And finally, a rescue boat is rowing by, and it sees this guy. It's like Tom Hanks' character. And he comes and he sees on this tiny island, there's 2 structures. And they go, what are these buildings? There's only one person. You have these like 2 buildings. And he's like, that's the synagogue I go to, and that's the one I'll never step foot in. And
you need the one you'll never step foot in.
Exactly. So, so like, to answer your question, like I think that, there's through many consequences of history, there's just been groups that, so after, just to go way back about 2,000 years ago,
Just
Okay.
quick
quick flashback. The Jews were living in like Israel and Judea, and the Romans were occupying that and eventually destroyed the temple, like the great temple in Jerusalem, and exiled the Jewish people. So that's how, you know, you have people, like that's how why I'm in Los Angeles right now, where you have Jews all over the world. They got exiled and spread across the world. And because of that, there's been like over those 2,000 years, they've maintained their identities, but have been impacted by the cultures that they were around. So you had some that went to Eastern Europe, and that's what created Ashkenazi Jews, like the ones who are more European. Then you had ones who settled in North Africa and the Middle East and Spain, and they're more like Mediterranean. So bringing from those passage of time from then until today, you have all these divisions of the different branches who have totally different rituals and traditions. They still read the same books. They still have the same prayers, but the customs have been impacted. So you have different like outfits and different pronunciations. So, and then within each group, you have differences as well. So like you guys may have seen like, if you've been in New York or in La Brea, these Hasidic Jews, the ones wearing all black, and they come from like Eastern Europe, and they lived in tiny little communities called shtetls, and that's like it's a fun word. You want to say it? Shtetl.
Shtetl. I do like that.
Yeah. And like if you guys have seen Fiddler on the Roof, that's like that lifestyle. And then when there was violence against them and they immigrated and came to America, they stayed in their little groups, and they each have their own specific ways, and they're very insular to keep the traditions. So they kept the clothing that they wear. They kept they kind of marry usually within their group, their community.
Right.
And then you have other ones who, ended up in big cities, who were in Paris and Berlin, and they became part of government and society. And they have very different viewpoints. Their thing was about assimilation. We want to be part of society.
Right.
So there's many different types, many directions that the people have gone through.
Yeah.
Are all the different types friendly with each other? Or is there a lot of like, well, we got it right?
Yeah, there's definitely some of that.
Similar thing with all religions.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's definitely like within each group, I guess the reasons that they're not part of the other, why they don't step foot in that synagogue is because they think that's wrong and this is wrong, and we figured out a better way, or things like that.
But it's not for they got it wrong for the sake of the afterlife.
No, it's more
Which I
just...
think is very unique, because I think that Christianity's different sects are saying, like, you got it wrong, therefore you're going to hell. Which is what you've probably experienced from Christianity.
Also, to be real, like that hasn't really happened to me very often.
You just feel
being
it
here, but it's something I've heard like about. And maybe if I was...
I mean, I remember there was only one Jewish girl at my school when I was like very young, like first grade. And I remember being very confused because I didn't really know anything about the Jewish faith or religion.
I think Yoni was the first Jewish in real life experience for me. Yeah.
Really?
Wow, what an honor.
Yeah.
I hope I made a good impression.
Well, I think that I met 3 in that class, actually.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, if you get involved in comedy, it's going to happen.
But I remember wondering what she did to Jesus, because I had like heard through the pipeline, like, and
What did she do
through the Pope line?
through the Pope line, yeah. It's just weird to like look back and realize just because there weren't more Jewish people in my community that was so foreign to me that I like kind of believed a bad rumor. I mean, I guess.
Yeah. If you believe that a group of people killed God, like that's like something, I guess, would be upsetting. But
you'd probably have to hold on to that.
Yeah. But that's...
But Jesus was a Jew.
Yeah.
He was.
Now that like the whole thing about Jesus, like there's many debates about.
Oh, he started a synagogue that nobody would step foot in.
But
Yeah. So like from the Jewish account, there's actually not really any references to him even like necessarily existing, but there's some like in the Talmud, some stories or references to somebody that may have been him. But the perspective is, he was another rabbi, another guy who was kind of shaking things up a bit and, starting his own little group. And when it
write him out of the book.
Yeah. And, with the development of Christianity, that's something I'm not an expert on, but hundreds of years later, like in Rome, you had, the kind of disciples of Jesus who were kind of developing the religion and had to kind of make it distinct from Judaism and say that this is the new, like the real Judaism, just like we were talking about separating yourself today. And part of the goal with that was to villainize, I think, the old school Jews.
Right.
And then, as as often happens in any society, you have an other group. So you had Jews living in Rome who were a minority, and that leads to people saying, "Oh, they're bad. Don't let them do this." Blah blah blah, and the kind of common trends of like anti-Semitism that have gone through history, and blaming them for killing Jesus was a convenient way to scapegoat a group. And but the Pope, I think it was John Paul.
Did we forgive?
He said Jews are not responsible. Don't blame them for that. So I think we're all good now.
Yeah, it seems good.
I'm sweating because the heat, not because I feel guilty about what happened with Jesus.
Or you feel like I'm in the hot seat.
It is hot in here.
That we're
It is
grilling you.
It wasn't
Definitely
me.
hotter than I expected it to be.
You seem to just be a very balanced person, and that's cool.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I'm trying to find the chink in the armor, though.
We'll see how long this goes and how hot it gets, and I might start to the real me. Could come
Get that
out.
light in a little closer here.
But
Bring my dog in here.
Bird, she loves your voice. She's trying to break down the door.
no, me and Bird, I don't think the cameras were rolling for this, but
No.
Yeah.
and their adorable dog really had a thing
Yeah.
before we started rolling.
Very
Really connected,
connected.
Yeah.
and she's missing me, and I feel it.
She is
I
calling
feel it
out.
here too. But yeah, I forgot how I ended up there, but
We go in many different directions.
What's the? I met somebody that you worked with, and she is a Jew for Jesus,
yes,
and she said you had a great conversation. Do you know who I'm talking about?
yes, I do.
Was it Joanne?
Yeah,
I don't know if we should.
she was in Crashing for a little bit.
Yeah.
Interestingly, she was playing the president, board of directors of a synagogue in this very Jewish episode of Crashing.
Because she plays that well.
Yeah, she does. And she has she had a more typical Jewish upbringing, but Jews for Jesus is.
She name dropped some Christian guy that turned her on to it, and I forget.
Yeah,
who it
I
was,
talked to her a little bit about in the.
Was she trying to get you to
No, she wasn't trying to get me. They are a very evangelistic
Yeah.
group,
Yeah.
and their kind of approach is to get Jews who are feeling shaky to be you can be Jewish, but you can also accept Jesus and go to heaven and kind of get the best of both. Some people, I see it as a way, a gateway drug to get Jews to just eventually become Christian.
Right.
Her reasoning, she still identifies as Jewish and her ethnic background and all of that is Jewish, but she just liked the ideas about afterlife, and I guess it just appealed to her.
She told me something about forgiveness was I just the story of Jesus and forgiveness, and I was I didn't know that was our thing. I didn't know that you didn't feel forgiven in Judaism.
I think that probably her upbringing with Judaism was maybe not so what she was looking for, so she found a way, something that just appealed to her, while not turning her back completely.
Yeah.
They're a very I'd say they're a more marginal group. You see them have little outposts in random places, but
She was the first person I've ever met.
yeah, they're not big. I don't know how. It's not It used to be more of I'd say a concern in the Jewish community. There's a guy whose organization was called Jews for Judaism, specifically to kind of counteract Jews for Jesus. But it's kind of not a thing so much.
They're not gaining ground. Don't worry about them. Just don't talk about them, and they'll go away.
Exactly.
But she's a big talker, so she might be something to worry about. Actually,
Yeah, that was the first thing she said to us. Hi, I'm a Jew for Jesus. We're okay.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
Wow.
Good to know.
I guess that's in the guidebook for their group.
Right. Yeah. It's just interesting to see that she went down that path.
Yes, you've got all kinds of, one thing that's interesting, I guess, also about the Jewish religion. I even hesitate to call it a religion or the faith because it's many things. You can be an atheist Jew. You can be. It's not.
Judaism is more your heritage.
Yeah, it's a heritage. It's an ethnicity. It's a national group. There is a religious component. It's a tribe. So what you believe is relevant, but it's not. You'll never be outcast for you're always still considered a Jewish person. So because of that, there's like there's a very wide spectrum of how people express their Jewishness. Some people express it in a way that's like, some people would say is self-hating, like they're against, their expression is to be against everything that's traditionally Jewish. Right. Other people they just love every aspect of it and they live and breathe it. And there's people who are like, Jewish through activism. They get involved with political causes, and they'll take like a more traditional concept like Passover and turn it into something that's about celebrating all people who need freedom in the world, who are living in oppressed societies. And so it's like a elastic identity that there's every kind of Jew under the sun that you can imagine.
Wow. Sounds like a song.
Every kind of Jew.
Yeah, like a Sesame Street kind of thing.
I guess I want to like kind of wrap it into like the title of the show, Backsliders. I think that to some degree, I've always had like a through line of how I felt internally and spiritually, like connected to God or whatever. Even within a household that thought something very specific and extreme in my eyes, even as a young kid.
Yeah.
And so because of that, I always felt like an outsider within the family I was even in. But I guess I don't feel like that within my own self.
Well, can you for the new viewers, explain, and also for me, what backsliding
is?
Yeah.
Like backsliding to me is like how Christians would categorize somebody who was like involved in the church, in the religion, and then like fell away. They started sinning and, started just like maybe not believing, becoming an atheist would be being a backslider,
just being lukewarm.
Yeah.
Like
fence rider.
Yeah. Like falling back into your old ways. Because when you get saved, you're supposed to be like this new person.
Like the prodigal son was a backslider.
So kind of like we have felt like that since we technically had a Christian wedding. We don't go to church anymore. Like our spirituality has like evolved outside of like one book, one religion. So, but we wanted to just kind of start conversations with people who have maybe like had a great experience with what they learned growing up, or maybe they were taught something totally different and now they believe something different than that.
So did you have people like called you guys backsliders, like to your face or to other people?
I feel like maybe the word is a little old school.
Yeah.
It's in the Bible, but it's like old school. My dad remembers his grandma yelling at him about being a backslider. Or, he was going to hell for like throwing loaves of bread in the grocery store, like just stupid stuff. But I think I've felt from like pastors at churches or like youth pastors, like kind of looking at you with that like judgmental eye, like, are you going down the wrong path?
I felt it just from
that look.
Yeah.
Like, are you, are you not living up to what I want you to be?
Are you living in sin?
So the fact that it does feel like you have like these goals of things to live by, and you know them as like, these things are helpful to me. You have a relationship with these rules, quote unquote, that you relate to as like, oh, these things help me, as opposed to these things judge me and condemn me to hell or not.
Right. Like,
and that feels really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I will say that, first of all, like this concept of like a backslider totally exists within the Jewish people. Like they would call it, so there's the word for road or path in Hebrew. It's derech. You guys want to try saying that one?
Derech.
Yeah.
Do it again.
Derech.
Derech.
Very good.
Yeah,
you guys can do the ch. Is that going to break the mic? So if somebody who's kind of going off the path, they call them, that person went off the derech, like off the path. OTD, as an acronym, they'll say.
What is required for someone to know that?
So that's a terminology that would be used in a more like orthodox community. So let's say somebody grew up in that world and then they found it oppressive, and then they stopped keeping kosher. Yeah, and they go out to bars on Friday nights now. People will be like, did you hear? Moshe went off the derech. And yes. So that definitely exists, and there are I'd say in the more traditional sections of the community, there are very high expectations, and if you don't meet them, people will make that same look. And Jews are especially good at making people feel guilty with one of those. Are you keeping Shabbos? So they do the look.
Is it out of concern for their salvation, concern for bringing shame to the tribe, kind of concern for their just well-being?
So I would say one of the big things with Judaism is that, as we talked about, it's a 4,000-year-old tradition, and the fact that anybody is still keeping it means that from generation to generation, nobody has backslid, or maybe if they did, they came back. So there is this big emphasis on keep the tradition alive. Like, do you want it to all end with you? Are you not gonna? And it's in that intonation, like people have died to keep the tradition. Yeah. People like in Spain, I don't know if you guys know about the Spanish Inquisition, they would tell people, eat this ham or die. And there are many people who died. And so there's this feeling of like people sacrifice so much and you're just going to give it up because your friends are going out. So I'd say it comes from
a ham sandwich.
So yeah, there is a desire to keep the tradition. Also maybe to not be publicly, people might think that you did a bad job raising your kid if they go OTD. Sure. But that I'd say is an interesting thing, is that there's just a constant cycle where you have people who totally leave the fold and they give up everything, and then oftentimes like their children will be like grow up with nothing and be like, oh, I want to know more about my heritage. Yeah. And then they end up becoming religious, and then it goes like back and forth.
Were you ever like down low OTD?
No, like do you mean OTD ODL OTDL on the down low? OTDL. No, not really. And even if I was, I wouldn't say it on this podcast.
This is too public.
But
that's why you're here. I had to ask. You know what I mean?
No, but honestly, like
maybe this would be the reckoning moment. I don't know.
I'm not saying this to please anybody, but I've always had a very positive relationship with the things that I practice and learned. So.
You knew and trusted that they were good for you. Yeah,
and I've like this comes from a very human perspective. When you have rules and structure, when you bend them, then it's a very slippery slope. Like well, I did it this one time, and so what's the difference if I do it again? And it's for your own sake.
Sound very Hasidic.
Yeah. So, like
if you were born in a Hasidic family,
yeah.
Would you have gone OTD, or do you think you would have still stayed Hasidic?
I think my personality type probably would have stayed with it, and maybe I'd find a way to like be creative, like within that, like Matisyahu, for example. He's not from a Hasidic world. He got into it later.
Really?
But he was a Fish, the band Fish, what's it called? Like a roadie or whatever. Like go just follow them, or like a total hippie. And in his 20s, he got kind of into this Hasidic group and got the beard, got the whole getup, and then became a huge star. While looking and being like that, he kind of has gone backslided. He's now like not as religious. He's kind of just like a hippie. But the point is, like, there is room within those strict worlds to express yourself. There's comedians, there's musicians, there's actually like big YouTube stars who are in the Hasidic world who are huge, and people like pay to have them appear at their wedding. Yeah. So
Was Ari Shafir, was he Hasidic?
I think he comes from like maybe, but I know he's from an Orthodox background, but I'm not sure which exact group. So yeah, I think it's a personality thing. There are people who've left the Hasidic world who, like, there's a guy who comes from this like important like dynasty family, and he totally left it all, and now he's acting. He was in High Maintenance. He's been in. Yeah, and most of his roles now are as Hasidic guys because he knows how to do it.
Yeah.
But he totally like left that.
Is he older?
No, he's a young
I think
guy.
I know the episode you're talking
Yeah.
I never knew an episode.
And like he had to leave. He had like a wife and kids, and he had to like completely kind of separate himself from to whatever. To him, it didn't work. So yeah, but. I think there's also certain people who just in general are attracted to extremes. So usually the people who join and get the most hardcore are the ones who came from a background that they had no religious like upbringing, and they're the most hardcore because they want to prove themselves. And
that was kind of my experience when I joined the megachurch in high school, because we were kind of like holiday only Catholics, and then I went to this big megachurch, and I was like all in every day. Yeah, like I became pretty extreme.
Yeah, and those are the people who look over and judge everybody because they're insecure about their own.
Like, do I fit in hard enough?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's kind of. I think I was the guy that was like around it my whole life. My parents were like a little zealous, and I looked at them like, and people like joining the church as like a little bit like everybody's like pageantry.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, they're, the whole like holier than thou kind of mentality.
Which turned me off in a lot of elements, you know, like the pageantry of it. Even traditions to me to some degree feel like pageantry, and like I get them and how like they like, I don't know, give you like a flag to put in the ground.
Yeah. But there is a part that
I want it to be real. Like I want it to be like, I want to close my eyes and feel like I can talk to God. Yeah. You know?
And like you can be yourself in like a holy space. Like you don't have to like put on a mask and like be what they want you to be.
Exactly. And I think that's something that people like us who grew up in a religious background, we never can experience that like come to God, come to Jesus moment, because like it's never going to be a totally new, like overwhelming thing. So it's, yeah, I think maybe we find that in other experiences, but people who maybe had a void and then suddenly found the thing to fill it with, they're the ones who go so hard,
Right. Yeah.
But we're just a couple of chill dudes and dudettes.
Super
chill
chill
dudes. I went hard
dudes.
in high school. I was like, I can't watch One Tree Hill anymore. Like my friends were like, you're so weird. And I was like, but you guys need Jesus. So
interesting.
I lost all my friends for a little bit, but it's okay. I came out of it.
Jesus wasn't in One Tree Hill. Like.
No, it was like on Wednesday night, and that's when youth group was. So I was like, you guys are
streaming
not
wasn't
doing
around
this right.
yet.
Yeah, no. This was like 2004.
So you could watch it now because you could watch it on any night of the week.
Oh, okay. So it's not about like the steamy makeout sessions on that show. Okay. Just the scheduling.
Yeah, it was
Well, it's like
time.
What about, so you couldn't watch TV growing up on Friday and Saturday night? So did you just miss all programming on Friday and Saturday night for like a decade?
The concept of like, till today.
No Saturday Night Live?
No. Saturday night, it's over. So once it's dark, don't worry. I got my SNL. But Saturday morning cartoons was something I'd always hear people talk about. And I just I don't know what shows are on Saturday morning. I saw cartoons the other days. I know my Tiny Toons, my Animaniacs. But yeah, Friday night. But there's never good shows on Friday night either.
Well, there used to be Full House.
Full House, okay. So
before my parents got divorced, that was like pizza and Full House night.
Okay. I saw reruns.
Yeah, you get the gist.
Yeah. But like, I know Boy Meets World, I think, was Friday night. So there were certain
That was
things.
pretty big.
Yeah,
that was.
No, I feel like I only saw that on reruns anyways. I feel like they reran that a lot.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you said you don't necessarily use the word faith. Do you feel like
You or the tribe?
I would say...
And I'm asking you to speak for the entire tribe.
I don't, and I think like there are people who say the word, but it's kind of more of I think it's more of a Christian word that sometimes gets used. But yeah, go on.
your belief system?
Yeah, sure.
Do you feel like that's impacted because you're a writer and a comedian, that's impacted your work in a specific way?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the way that it's probably impacted it most is the cultural thing where when you grow up seeing people like Jerry Seinfeld, Larry David, Ross from Friends, you know,
The character, Ross.
yeah, and you see,
You know, the greats.
when you see, and this goes to something that's very relevant today, which is representation. Like when you see people who are similar to you, Adam Sandler, Steven Spielberg, you know, my last name's Weinberg, Spielberg. So
You were like, that's me.
yeah, you
Cool.
feel like that's something that I can do. It's within the realm, and I'm only a couple degrees of separation away. Like, for example, Steven Spielberg's mom has a kosher restaurant on Pico that's called the Milky Way, and she has like pictures of him. It's like a shrine to Spielberg. But I think most people who live in the rest of the country, just the concept of like going somewhere and you can meet Steven Spielberg's mom, like that's crazy.
Yeah.
But having proximity, being in LA, but also just people who are familiar to you made me feel like it was something I could do.
Yeah.
And
That's really cool because it's like your family.
That's the biggest like obstacle I think for me in my head is just like, man, like I don't know anybody here. How do I see somebody from my background and upbringing finding his place here?
yeah,
I did it anyway,
yeah,
you know.
you get to be a trailblazer, which
Yeah.
is also exciting. But yeah, culturally, it's also just respected. Like I think it's kind of funny in most groups of people, if you tell that your parents, I want to go work in Hollywood, they're going to be like, oh no, like what did we do wrong?
Yeah.
But within the Jewish people, there's a lot of respect for movies, for TV, for that comedy. You know, the stand-up comedians of the past were, you know, mostly these Jewish guys in the Catskills in New York. So there's an appreciation. As far as the actual work, it depends. Like, yeah, there's commonality with other Jewish people who work in the business. But at the end of the day, it's a very specific thing. And sometimes you need to also be universal and to connect with many kinds of people. So, yeah. But, you know, and then when it comes to the religious aspects, like there are times where there are challenges where like, maybe I can't eat a lot of things from a place that they'll order lunch from in the room, and I have to get like a gross salad. But we all make sacrifices, and I like salad. By the way, it's just sometimes it's a place that has a bad salad.
If it's a gross salad.
Yeah, I like good
gross.
salad.
Yeah.
just iceberg and shredded carrots.
Exactly.
My salad needs to have like 8 ingredients.
Yeah,
to be
her
like a
salads
good
get on my nerves.
salad.
Like even a side salad, she
It's
wants
no.
it to be an 8-ingredient
It needs
salad. I'm
avocado
like,
at
growing
least.
up, like I just did like spinach and a dressing for a side salad.
At least I mean, it's
pretty
better
gross.
than iceberg. There's nutrients.
Yeah, that's
Iceberg's
how
just
I
like
feel.
water.
Iceberg, yeah.
That's how I
gross.
feel.
Yeah.
You know, maybe a mushroom or something. You know.
Yeah, throw a mushroom in
Wow,
there.
that's a good salad.
Now, you're
olives.
talking about like eating healthy and all that. Do your families and friends from your previous lives, like, how do they see you now living in LA with all these like healthy supplements around here and vegan food and is that like a form of backsliding that you guys are like?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Like
And-
we're backsliding?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I think it depends on who I'm talking to, but definitely an outsider. For
sure,
like they
outsider.
I think they feel judged that we're not eating meat and cheese when we're around them. Or I eat cheese. But that
Definitely
we're,
like
you know,
straying from, we're going off the beaten path,
Yeah.
which is like you just eat queso.
Yeah.
You eat meat in every
brisket,
meal.
yeah. I mean, I miss brisket, but
Of course.
you know, and I don't know if I'm saying that I'll never eat meat again in my life, but I'm enjoying not doing it for right now.
I think with food or with any like lifestyle thing, it's similar to like if you have a different belief system. Like people are, I think some people, depending on their personality, there's an automatic like insecurity. Like, oh,
Yeah.
you think you're doing the better
Yeah.
thing or you believe the better thing than I do.
Right.
But even if you're not putting that off. So I think that's the biggest thing is I don't want
as
to,
religion.
Yeah.
We don't wanna come-
rejecting something. Yeah.
yeah. And you don't want to come across as like, I'm right and you're wrong, but you're like,
Yeah.
this is what I've decided. It's a tricky area.
That's your opinion.
But you know, I think at the end of the day, everybody just you gotta do you. It's like,
Yeah.
it's our lives. We got one of them as far as we know. And
Bird agrees.
and I guess you just can't, wherever you are on the spectrum of these beliefs, like, in order to be happy, I think you can't give too much value to what people think, because also they're probably not thinking about you or me or anybody as much as we may think.
Yes.
Think about themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, anytime you go to a party and you're like, oh shoot, does this shirt look weird? It's like nobody even will remember, because they're
Right.
all thinking about their weird shirts.
Unless it's a real good shirt, then
Yeah,
they'll remember
good
that it was
shirts
a
over
really
here.
good shirt. Yeah.
These guys are great.
Y'all should be on camera.
So yeah.
No, that's true. I think I was going to ask you, but you did it naturally. Like, what your advice would be to other people who maybe are struggling with, like, feeling like an outsider or backslider, since you don't seem
Yeah.
to carry that. But
Yeah, I think, also we're just lucky that we live in a world now where, even though it's a huge world, it's very small. It's easy to find people who are like-minded, who have the specific, thing that you might be looking for. And really just, like we talked about earlier, it's just about community. So
Yeah.
you're not doing anybody favors by being in a community to please other people, and you're miserable and they hate you. It's like, I think it's easy to fall in that trap of being a people pleaser, but I think the best thing that you can do is just find people who do appreciate you for who you are.
Yeah.
I'm
looking for that. I am. I do. We've talked about this a couple times.
We miss community.
I definitely miss community, and I definitely feel like a little community-less. Like, I wish I felt a part of a tribe. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, one thing is you can create one, but also
Yeah.
there's so many more aspects to each of you than your like Christian upbringing. Like,
Yeah.
That's
you
true.
could join the tribe of like mustachioed men.
Right. I feel
a
very connected to those
find
guys.
a support group. And
comedy.
Yeah,
is
there's
kind
comedy,
Of a
there's
The
tribe.
second I joined, I'd probably shave and be like, I can't do this.
you're a nonconformist by nature.
I kind of am like a fringe guy.
Yeah.
There's a little resistance, I think, because each of us.
Like even in the comedy community, I'm like dip
Yeah,
my
yeah.
toe in, and I'm like, God, I can't
Yeah.
really.
They're all the same.
I don't want to be in this fraternity.
Yeah.
If it's too extreme,
So
Or-
yeah, you're just an independent free spirit, maybe.
Yeah, but it is a lonely one.
Well, you got a wonderful wife. You
I
guys
do have a
each
wonderful
other.
Thank you,
wife.
Yoni.
Yes.
So that's good. And maybe the answer is to to go back to the Bible. It's a callback.
Yeah.
Abraham and Sarah, they left their tribe. He broke the idols, said we're no longer idol worshipers, went out into the desert with just him and his wife. And they're the first monotheists, the first like people believing in this one God. And they built their community by having kids, by meeting people along the way, and they started a tribe, and that's what grew into, according to the Bible, to like this people, the Jewish people. So, you can if you build it, they will come.
Maybe that's what we're building.
I've been
Yeah.
seeing that a lot, actually.
So
Like written
Yeah.
around town.
We went to Fred 62, and that quote was written.
Whoa.
Two
If
different
you build
places.
it, they will come.
it's a
Field of
sign.
Dreams.
It's
Yeah.
a sign. I haven't even seen that movie, but the quote came to me, and so maybe there is a God, and he's wants us to all start
Or she.
start our own tribe, our own group.
Yeah.
And
That's why we really brought you over here.
Yeah.
should we like
Cut our.
blood pact?
Yes.
Cool. Well, let's get the other Abraham, do
Yes.
double Abraham
Yeah.
callback.
Yes.
Esther, the Abraham, to bring her on board too.
Yeah. She could like let us know if it's his wishes.
And we're just a couple blocks away from Scientology.
Yeah.
I'm sure we
Yeah,
could get
they're
some
right down the
recruits.
street.
They've
They're
got a good
always-
infrastructure going.
Definitely.
Could learn a lot from them.
They could teach us a thing or two about proselytizing.
Yes.
Well, thanks so much.
Yeah, I
for
appreciate it. I
talking
feel like
with
that's a
us.
good podcast.
Scientology is where we leave it. We don't want
That's
to get
where
killed.
we leave all of our.
I mean, that's probably gonna be the most difficult type of person to get on this couch would be a Scientologist.
Yeah.
They're just
They're
like,
always at the burrito stand, but they don't really want to talk.
Yeah. Well, but thank you guys for having me. This is,
he's like, I also dabble.
this really was a pleasure.
Aw,
and
thanks.
a lot of fun. And I hope that you guys feel in the search for community that we are a community. I really value your guys' friendship.
Thank
we
you.
value
You
you,
too.
And we'll
Yoni.
keep it going.
Dude, I
Yeah.
appreciate it. It means a lot to me.
Cool.
Thanks for
guys.
watching or listening. This is us and Yoni Weinberg.
Yes.
Weinberg.
All right. Shalom.
Shalom. What was that other one?
was that a
That was another.
It's just a sound.
No, I'm not saying that it wasn't real. I'm just saying that you made me feel bad. Don't try making me a better deal. I'm done with you and I'm fine with that, and that's that.